Right now, somewhere in the back of your mind, there's a habit you want to build. Maybe it's exercising in the morning. Maybe it's reading before bed. Maybe it's something small like drinking more water. You've probably even tried before. And if you're being honest, it didn't stick. Here's the thing most people get wrong about habits. They think building a habit is about willpower, about gritting your teeth and forcing yourself to do something until it becomes automatic. But that's not how habits actually work. Not even close. Today, I'm going to show you the exact anatomy of a habit, how every habit you've ever formed actually operates under the surface. And by the end of this video, you're going to build one, a real one that has a genuine chance of lasting. Not because you'll try harder this time, but because you'll understand the machinery that makes habits run. Let's start with a question. Have you ever pulled out your phone without even thinking about it? You weren't bored, you weren't waiting for a message, you just did it. Your hand moved, your thumb swiped, and suddenly you're scrolling through something. That's a habit in action, and it didn't form because you decided one day to become a compulsive phone checker. It formed because a very specific loop got reinforced over and over again until it became invisible. That loop has 4 parts: cue, craving, response, and reward. Every single habit, good or bad, follows this exact pattern. Understanding these 4 steps is the difference between someone who builds habits that last and someone who keeps starting over every January. Let's break them down one at a time. The first part is the cue. The cue is the trigger. It's the thing that tells your brain to start running a particular behavior. It could be a time of day, a location, an emotion, or something that just happened. When you walk into the kitchen in the morning, that's a cue. When your phone buzzes, that's a cue. When you feel stressed after a meeting, that's a cue. Here's what's important about cues. You usually don't notice them. That's by design. Your brain is constantly scanning your environment for signals, and when it recognizes one that's been paired with a reward in the past, it kicks the loop into gear automatically. This is why habits feel effortless once they're established. The cue does the heavy lifting of initiation, so you don't have to. The second part is the craving. This is the part most people skip when they think about habits, and it's arguably the most important one. The craving is not the habit itself. It's the motivation behind the habit. It's the prediction your brain makes about how the behavior will make you feel. When you smell coffee brewing, you don't just notice the smell. You anticipate the warmth, the taste, the little energy boost. That anticipation is the craving. When you hear your phone buzz, you don't just hear a sound. You anticipate the novelty, the social connection, the tiny hit of something interesting. The craving is your brain saying, I know what comes next and I want it. This is crucial because you don't actually crave the habit. You crave the change in state that the habit delivers. You don't crave the act of running. You crave the feeling of energy afterward. You don't crave opening Instagram. You crave the relief from boredom. Every craving is really about a feeling, not a behavior. The third part is the response. This is the actual behavior, the thing you do. It's the part most people focus on, and ironically, it's the part that matters least in isolation. The response is whatever action you take. Lacing up your shoes, opening an app, picking up a book, grabbing a snack. The response only happens if 2 conditions are met. First, the craving has to be strong enough to motivate action. Second, the behavior has to be easy enough to actually do. This is a big deal. If the response requires too much effort, friction, or complexity, the loop breaks. Even if the cue fires and the craving is strong, you won't do it if the behavior feels like too much work. Remember this. We'll come back to it. The fourth and final part is the reward. The reward is what your brain gets at the end of the loop. It's the payoff, and it serves 2 purposes. First, it satisfies the craving. It delivers the change in state your brain was predicting. Second, and this is the part that matters for habit formation, it teaches your brain whether this loop is worth repeating. If the reward is satisfying, your brain files the whole sequence away. Cue, craving, response, reward. Got it. Do that again next time. If the reward is disappointing or absent, the loop weakens. Over time, with enough repetition and enough reward, the loop becomes automatic. That's a habit. So let's recap the full cycle with a simple example. You walk into the kitchen in the morning. That's the cue. You anticipate the taste and warmth of coffee. That's the craving. You turn on the coffee maker and pour a cup. That's the response. You take the first sip and feel that warmth spread through you. That's the reward. Do this enough mornings in a row, and you stop thinking about it. You just make coffee. The loop runs itself. Now here's where things get practical. Because understanding the loop is nice, but it's useless if you can't use it to actually build a habit. So let's build one right now. I want you to think of one small behavior you'd like to do consistently. Not a massive life overhaul. Not wake up at 5 a.m. and run 10 miles. Something small. Something that takes 2 minutes or less. Maybe it's doing 10 push-ups. Maybe it's writing one sentence in a journal. Maybe it's meditating for 60 seconds. Pick one thing. Got it? Good. Now we're going to engineer each part of the loop for that habit. Step 1. Choose your cue. You need a trigger that already exists in your daily life. Don't invent a new trigger. Attach your habit to something you already do every single day without thinking. After I pour my morning coffee. After I sit down at my desk. After I brush my teeth at night. The word after is your best friend here. You're linking your new habit to an existing behavior that's already on autopilot. That existing behavior becomes the cue. So your formula looks like this. After I existing behavior, I will new tiny habit. After I pour my morning coffee, I will do 10 push-ups. After I sit down at my desk, I will write one sentence. After I brush my teeth, I will meditate for 60 seconds. Be specific. In the morning is not a cue. After I set my coffee mug on the counter is a cue. The more precise, the more reliable the trigger. Step 2. Identify the craving. What feeling are you really after? Not the behavior, the feeling. If your habit is 10 push-ups, maybe the craving is feeling physically awake and alert. If it's journaling, maybe the craving is a sense of clarity and control over your thoughts. If it's meditation, maybe it's a moment of calm before the chaos starts. You need to know this because the craving is what pulls you through the response. On the days when you don't feel like doing it, you need a clear answer to the question, why am I doing this again? And, because I'm supposed to, is not a strong enough answer. Because I love how awake I feel afterward is. Step 3. Make the response stupidly easy. This is where most people sabotage themselves. They design a habit that's too ambitious for the loop to sustain. If your habit requires you to change clothes, drive somewhere, set up equipment, and carve out an hour, that's not a habit. That's a project. And projects require motivation. Habits should not. Your response needs to be so small that it feels almost ridiculous not to do it. 10 push-ups, not a full workout. One sentence, not a full journal entry. 60 seconds of breathing, not a 30-minute meditation session. The goal right now is not results. The goal is repetition. You are trying to build the loop to get the 4 parts cycling. You can increase the intensity later once the loop is running automatically. But you cannot increase what doesn't exist. Step 4. Make the reward immediate and satisfying. This is the part that seals the deal, and it's the part most people completely ignore. Your brain does not reinforce behaviors based on long-term outcomes. It reinforces them based on how you feel right now, in the moment, right after the behavior. So you need to give yourself something immediately satisfying after you complete the habit. It could be as simple as saying "done" out loud and feeling that little hit of completion. It could be checking off a box on a piece of paper. It could be taking a moment to notice how your body feels after those 10 push-ups. The point is, don't just do the habit and move on. Mark the moment. Let your brain register the reward. This is not silly. This is neuroscience. Your brain is constantly running a cost-benefit analysis. Make the benefit obvious and immediate, and the brain will want to repeat the behavior. Leave the benefit vague or delayed, and the brain will start finding excuses to skip it. Let me give you a complete example. Let's say you want to start a journaling habit. Your cue is setting your coffee mug down on your desk in the morning. That's specific, that's reliable, and it happens every day. Your craving is wanting a sense of mental clarity before you start work. Not because you should journal, but because you genuinely want that feeling of having your thoughts organized. Your response is writing one sentence, just one, not a page, not a paragraph. One sentence about what's on your mind. That's it. Your reward is reading that sentence back, taking a breath, and saying clear to yourself. Maybe you put a small check mark on a sticky note. Either way, you mark the moment. That is a complete habit loop. It's small, it's specific, and it's built on solid mechanics. Will one sentence change your life? No. But that one sentence done every single day for 3 months will build a journaling loop so strong that you'll start writing more without even trying. The loop will pull you in. You won't need discipline. You'll need a trigger, and the rest will follow. Now, I want to address something that might be on your mind. This probably feels too simple, too small. You might be thinking, 10 push-ups won't get me in shape, or one sentence isn't real journaling. And you'd be right, in isolation. But you're not building a single behavior. You're building a system. You're installing the infrastructure that every future habit will run on. Think about it like this. The first time you drove a car, every single action required conscious attention. Check the mirrors, adjust the seat, turn the key, check the mirrors again, foot on the brake, shift to drive. It was exhausting. Now you drive without thinking about any of that. The loops are running automatically. You didn't get there by trying to master everything on day one. You got there by repeating simple sequences until they became invisible. That's exactly what you're doing with this first habit. You're learning how to build loops. And once you know how to build one loop, you can build dozens. You can chain habits together, design your mornings, your evenings, your work routines, all of it. But it starts with one. You have to earn the complexity by first mastering the simplicity. There's one more thing I want to mention before you go and build this. Your environment matters enormously. The cues in your surroundings either help your habits or quietly work against them. Where you place objects, how your space is organized, what's visible and what's hidden, all of it shapes which loops get triggered and which ones don't. If you're serious about making habits stick, designing your space to support them is one of the most powerful moves you can make. But that's a topic that deserves its own deep dive. For now, focus on this. You have one habit. You have a cue, a craving, a response, and a reward. The loop is designed. All that's left is to run it. Tomorrow morning, or tonight, or whenever your cue fires next, do the thing. Don't negotiate with yourself. Don't evaluate whether you feel like it. The cue fires, you respond, you collect the reward. That's it. Do it again the next day, and the next. And somewhere around the 2-week mark, you'll notice something shift. You'll start doing it without thinking. The loop will run on its own. And that's the moment everything changes. Not because one small habit transforms your life overnight, but because you'll finally understand from experience how habits actually work. And once you understand the machine, you can build anything you want with it. Start today. One habit, 4 parts. Make it tiny. Make it obvious. Make it satisfying. And let the loop do the rest.